The title of this podcast is Raise the Moment in Front of You. This is inspired by something that I heard from Michael Singer during one of his podcast episodes. And it really resonated with me. And what he was saying is working yourself in such a way that the moment that passes before you is better because it did so. And I think about that, especially whenever I have an interaction with someone else or with a life situation. I remind myself that in this moment, your job is to raise the moment. No matter what is said or happens, more and more I commit to raising the moment in front of me. And with practice, I've been more consistent with it. And when I falter, which I will do, that is not a probability, but it is almost certain that I will. And when I do, I just get right back on track because all of this is practice. Thankfully, it's practice. But if I stay conscious, if I really stay in the present moment, being aware of what I want to contribute to that moment, that I want to honor it. Like this is a moment for me, like it's as if the universe gifted me with this moment. And there have been so many before the practice that I completely did not honor. But now with this awareness, I really try to honor it. And in doing so, with practice and being conscious, I increase the likelihood of me raising this moment. The little Keith, the lower self, ego, whatever you want to call it, it is often bothered by what people say, especially if it's something that I disagree with, or if they give me feedback that my ego doesn't like. What another person is doing that I think they should be doing it wrong. I mean, they should be doing it a different way and their approach is wrong. It says all those things. And because of this awareness of raising the moment, I'm able to be aware of that voice. And then I'm able to let it pass. Michael Singer said something that was really, really telling. And I actually practiced it yesterday doing a Thanksgiving gathering. And what Michael Singer said was, he said, for people that are not on a journey of working on themselves, the internal dialogue sounds something like this. Why did they say that? They shouldn't say that. This is wrong. This should be different. I should go back and tell them this. And for a person who is on the path, this is what it sounds like in their head. The thought isn't even able to form and be given voice because they are catching it so quickly that they're able to pause it and quickly transmute that energy into an awareness and appreciation for the moment so they can raise it. So yesterday at Thanksgiving, I was having a lovely conversation with an older gentleman. And he had some really great opinions. And most of them up until that point were really, really funny. And I was learning a lot. And he's an incredible storyteller. And we were watching sports while other people were in joyful conversation. And as we were watching the sports, he starts to talk about the athletes being political and saying that they should not bring that to the sports realm. And you know, my views are slightly different in that I think a lot of awareness to some important social causes, whether it's Title IX for women, whether it's people that are differently abled, whatever the case may be, LGBTQ plus or people of color or whatever the case may be, you know, if done so peacefully without disparaging others or casting blame and shame or any of those things, I think it's a great contribution to humanity. But while he's saying this, I'm not thinking that deeply about it like I would have in the past. And as he's speaking, and he's very passionate about his view, and I'm just listening, and I'm just listening. I'm being in space for all this to occur. And I know something is different because I had a conversation like this prior when a big sports star was being discussed by an older gentleman who thought that this guy was not as good as he was being spoken about. Additionally, he thought the guy was too involved in the community. I mean, this guy had built a school for people from his community in Ohio. He had given incredible amounts of money to great causes and education and whatnot. But this guy thought that the guy should not have a voice or a platform. And I started to try to defend the guy and say, look at all the great things he's doing, for people that have been underprivileged. And I remember being caught up in becoming in my heart closing in this conversation that occurred 10 years earlier. So here I am now, almost 8 years into this well-being practice and working on myself, that I'm sitting here with a conversation that's very similar, except I'm different. And in this conversation, I'm just a space where the conversation is taking place. And I am not allowing my ego to pull me down with it. Instead, I'm aware that in this moment, this gift of this moment, to be with this human being who is a charming person, I adore him, and I'm choosing to contribute to raising the moment. And so I listened and I listened. I didn't refute anything he said. I didn't argue against it, nothing. In the conversation, he moved on to another topic, and it was fine. And we got back to, well, we never stopped enjoying ourselves, but he settled down, and we started talking about some other things from his life, which is interesting, very interesting. And it wasn't that I was proud of myself, but what I was is I was appreciative for the work that had gone into being conscious in a moment like that, whereas before I hadn't. And I didn't lose before the 10 years earlier, because I believe that it's not win or lose, it's win and learn. And I learned that from this guy named Lanny Basham in another podcast several years ago. And so what I try to bring to interactions and life situations now is this consciousness and this awareness to raise the moment. And whenever I'm going into a conversation or a meeting in which there's a part of me that feels like, oh, this is going to be difficult. And again, that's when I say a part of me, that's the voice talking, because I don't know what the moment's going to be. But when that comes up, I remind myself, as we go into this moment, our job is to be aware, to be present, and to raise the moment. And when I think that, when I commit to that, it's amazing how I'm able to maintain inner peace in the moment, regardless of what's said. And so I'm hoping to have more moments like that. I'm hoping to raise more moments that I'm gifted with, that are before me. And for anyone who knows me or spends time with me, I invite you to remind me to raise the moments that are in front of me. If you start to see my heart close, if you start to see me pull away, if you start to see me become defensive, or whatever the case may be, you have permission to lovingly remind me that this moment will not be here for long. So why not raise it? And I will say thank you. And I will do the work of returning to become present and raise that moment. So for those people in your life that your mind says pushes your buttons, or they don't understand, or or woe is me, or whatever the case may be, the situation shouldn't be happening. I invite you to let that voice quiet down. And if you don't engage with it, it'll quiet down. And when it does, your authentic self will fill the space. And then I encourage you to raise the moment.